As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner YouGov offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more.
Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about Epic Games in the news, because I thought this was a little bit different, and I know we had talked about the original story here. The headline here is, can Cary become a destination for esports events? New esports complex will be critical. And so this is a $193 million esports complex, supposedly that's going to hold esports events, have facilities, teams, all kinds of things, all kinds of things to attract esports events and gamers. 4,000 seat arena, 25,000 square foot space for events. And it's going to be basically in the backyard of Epic Games headquarters. Remember that mall that they bought? Originally, this was planned for that mall, the grounds of that mall. And when Epic bought the mall, they could no longer do it there. So this is all about this new space next to Epic Games. How do we feel about this in the context of some of the other spaces we've seen? And, can Cary, North Carolina, which is not, it's not a huge city, do we think it can support an almost $200 million esports stadium? Jeff?
I mean, I think when you phrase it that way, the answer is undoubtedly no. I think, from just reading the article when you were kind of scrolling through, it sounds like there's a lot more, than just esports there. There clearly a bunch of basketball courts. There's, an amphitheater. It sounds like maybe an event center. Even still, 200 million for that is astronomically high. But it doesn't sound like it's just going to be esports. If it was just esports, that would be I think we would all be throwing up, because that just is insane for an esports arena. But even with that said, it seems like a lot for a place that doesn't get a ton of, it's not exactly like Chicago or New York City or something like that, where you're getting a ton of people kind of coming through. So that seems crazy to me, even with Epic there. I'm sure they can host, some regional tournaments and whatnot, but it's a lot of money in a place that doesn't get a ton of kind of passing through.
Lindsay?
Maybe they're thinking about it more like a music festival model. Some of the biggest festivals are held in some of the weirdest places, and they're quite large revenue drivers. I mean, one of the big ones here is held at a race car stadium. I could see this perhaps holding maybe one or two huge events a year and being really successful at that. But I don't know that that's enough to pay back what they're intending on investing in this.
I guess the part of the question is, this is a very particular location, and it's obviously, I think, there because of Epic. Does that change anything? Should we now see Microsoft have a stadium next door for esports events, or right? Does being near a gaming company mean this is the better place for these kinds of facilities? Jimmy, thoughts?
I can see them using it, sure. I just don't know if this fits. We've seen a lot of other businesses that are launching facilities that aren't this expensive in cities that make a lot more sense. I get that Epic has a presence there. Epic also has a presence in San Diego, and I would argue San Diego is probably a much more desirable location. It's one of the largest cities in the United States, certainly in California. And honestly, I don't know. We talk a lot about where to open facilities. Malls, I think, was a big discussion. I get this is kind of totally different because of the nature and the scope of what they're saying this facility is going to have. But it's just, for the last 3 years now, it seems we're constantly shifting away from things like this to events going online. So it's a very large gamble, and I'm just curious what the risk tolerance as well as what the upside is, because I don't see why you wouldn't do this in a more populated area where if the esports kind of element of your facility fails, how can you pivot and make do? It's a very just the risk to reward to me is out of whack, and for that reason I don't like it.